and welcome to This Day with BJ Arnett. And I'm BJ. Well, I want you to know that I have this thing that I do sometimes that gets me into trouble. It's called social media. You know, have you ever found yourself like going, oh, this is TikTok, and why do we stay on this? The craziest thing I've ever seen, but also the funniest, the funniest. Well, I've got a lady who is my guest today who really has mastered that TikTok thing and made it an empowering moment for lots of singles. She is Montana Doran. Montana Doran. She is an amazing young woman. Singleness is your lifestyle, right?
Well, I mean, it's the life that chose me, so I'm trying to embrace it.
Yeah, so you got to put your arms around it and love it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Talk to us about why this single life and living it out correctly is so important.
I had gotten out of a really bad relationship, and I kind of lost myself in that relationship, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. You lose part of yourself in that. Mm-hmm. And I remember realizing that I didn't want to feel that way anymore. And so I kind of was like, I can't live like this anymore. And so I decided to get back into church and start therapy and do things like that and embrace myself and learn about myself in this season that most feel like it's a dooming season and it's a doom and gloom. But I was like, I don't want to see, I've never felt gloomy about it. I think it's your time to embrace yourself. But I saw so many people being miserable and wishing that it was over. Wow. And I just wanted to be like, it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't. So one of the things you find out when you're single is you really begin to really delve into who you are and what you're made of. What have you found out about you in the ups and the downs and the sideways times of life?
One of my biggest things that like is my mission statement of life, I feel like, is that there's always pain to purpose. Some of my most painful seasons, like the breakup or car accidents or family things, like some of my most purpose was birthed from those painful seasons. And one of the things, I would have never found out that I like to do comedy if I wouldn't have had that experience, that heartbreaking experience, or that I was passionate about like mental health and psychology. Like I really found that out in those dark times where I was seemingly all alone, but these things were revealed to me. And I think sometimes relationships are distractions from yourself. And so I was completely isolated and I found out all these things about myself.
You also found out about yourself, and you mentioned it briefly, that you have a rather funny side, and that could be a lucrative business for you. So you giggle a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that.
Yes, ma'am.
But what makes you giggle in life? What makes you now able to turn your pain, your tragedy into triumph and a smile and joy, and then make other people giggle too?
It's funny, I was literally just in the hospital for this car accident a month ago, and I'm in there, and I'm in so much pain, literally. I can't talk about it, but I was in so much pain, and I'm on the phone with my mom, and she's like, why are you laughing? And I'm like, you gotta laugh to keep from crying.
Yeah.
Because this life will tear you down so much every single day, and you have to, just because I choose joy, and I choose laughter, and I choose happiness, doesn't mean I'm not sad. Like, literally, I'm facing things right now in my own life, in my family life, but I'm choosing joy because I know what it's like to like not want to wake up or not want to get out of your bed or not want to even live anymore. So I have no choice. I have to choose joy. I have to laugh. I have to. It's not that I don't care.
It's not an option.
It's not an option.
You know, you said that you have two choices. You can either succumb to the pain that is all around you, or you can choose joy. You just made that abundantly clear in the two ways that you said it. You've chosen joy, and even your mom is going, what in the world? In the midst of your pain, you're choosing joy. The other option isn't so cute. But then you begin to recognize that there are many young women and young men who are going through this void and trying to figure out, how do I fill that void without filling it with another human being? And you said something earlier that's important. You said, let me go back to church. Like, you said, let me just do that. Let me just go back to church. Why was that important?
Not to get too graphic, I had experienced sexual assault. And then 3 weeks after that happened, someone invited me to church. And I had asked that person that I was in the relationship with, say, hey, do you care if I go? And he was like, go, just don't talk about us at this church thing. And I went to the event, and I was the worst I had ever been in my life. I had literally used drugs before the conference started. I go in, and they sit me in the front row, and I was like, oh my God, this church is gonna burn down.
Because I'm in the front row. And everyone knows I'm the biggest sinner in the room, yeah.
Well, then
that's the thought that we go through. Yes.
I was like, this place is gonna burn because I'm here and I'm in the front row. Then they play the game sometimes at church, and the guy raised his hand and said, who wants to come on stage? And the girl I was with raised her hand. We get picked on stage. I'm like, this stage is gonna burn down. This whole place is going up in flames. We're all going to hell in a handbasket. I'm sorry.
We're going now.
We're going now. We go on there, we win, and then this woman comes out and she told her story, and it was so traumatic. And she goes, if God can use me, he can use anybody.
There he is.
And I had grown up in church my whole life, but it had never felt real to me. But in that moment, it felt real because it felt like, for the first time in my life, God was coming for the one, and it was me. And we're all searching for the one to fill that void, the one, whether it be like a man or a job or anything, but you have to become that one for yourself, and God chose you to be that. And so that's what, my heart was broken so bad it left me to church, and that's where God was able to restore me, and then through restoring me, everything else came.
I love that you have to be that one. You know, we laugh about TikTok, but it's been working for you because you've been empowering young women to get into, this is your season for singleness, and there's a whole lot of fun and discovery in that season.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a whole lot of good stuff in that season. But you've been able to help people balance out a really imbalanced situation.
I've never seen anything like TikTok. I know people have their...
I haven't either, girl, go.
If they let me go viral, they'll let anybody do it. Because I have faith that anybody can go viral, because they'll let me do it, they'll let anybody. But it was just another thing. I was trying to figure out who I was as a comic, so I would try to make jokes on TikTok. I made a joke, it went off, people thought I was serious. So
really?
They thought, because I was like, we were dating in 2020, how do you find a man? We're all wearing masks. I was like, go to the grocery store. And that's where all the men are at.
They have no choice.
Yeah. So it went off, and then it just became something. Now it's a whole community of women and a few men. There are a few men in there, but really where a lot of times as a single, community is so important.
Yes.
And because not all of us are doom and gloom, but community, we're not meant to do life alone. And so a lot of these people, especially with COVID, everyone was feeling so isolated, and when you're the single friend, all your friends are married or having kids, you feel left out. So it's really just a space where we all come and talk about the single struggles, the online dating horrors, and we can really empower one another through this season, because we can't do life alone.
You cannot do life alone, but you've got to start from the right base, a healthy base of you.
Yes.
And a healthy relationship with the Father God.
Yes, ma'am.
That also makes you smile, that also makes you giggle, that also makes you connect with other people. When you take a look at the other side of that, the joy, the laughter is great, and that's where you are right now. But you've pressed through some real mental health issues, depression, to the point of not wanting to even live, not wanting to get up in the morning, not wanting to be alone. That seems to be an issue that a lot of people face on a daily basis, and COVID did not help it.
Yes, ma'am.
So as you're talking to people, as you're out there saying, hey, it's gonna be okay, and let's kind of laugh through it, how were you able to come out of it? Because that story alone can help somebody else.
I totally agree. I have personal family members that I've lost through suicide, and I've had friends who even had horror stories during COVID. And I'm not a pro at it, but I do know that I would not have got through it without, first of all, my foundation of faith in Jesus, and people praying for me. I know I wouldn't have like my mom and my small group leaders and surrounding myself with that, but also like community and therapy and reaching out, because a lot of times people think that they're just all alone and that they don't matter and that there has nobody. But I guarantee if you stop, you could think about at least 5 people or someone just to reach out and to know yourself and your limits, to know I still have to check myself, even through the joy. Because the joy and the laughter and the comedy stuff is all good, but there is that whole other side that I still have to like actively fight. So just knowing who you can reach out to, when to reach out, and like what your triggers are and things like that. But having
what your triggers are, identifying your triggers so that you know when you're getting to that place.
Yes, ma'am.
That, I think that in itself, you just dropped, a bit of gold for somebody, because knowing your triggers, if you don't know it, you can't help somebody who wants to spend time with you to be able to know when you're in a place that you need help.
Yes, ma'am.
In this process of you coming out of those trigger points, if you will.
Yes, ma'am.
Their family and friends who are saying, why is she going through this? We're all right here. What do you say to the family and friends of a person who's going through this? How should they be responding?
Don't take it personal. It's not your fault that you can't make them better. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen and not try to fix it. And just sometimes people are just looking for someone to listen to them. And then just fully be able to listen, and then you can, talk with love, but don't take it personal if someone in your life is really struggling, because it's not about you.
It's not about you. Ooh. I think that's, Montana, I think that's one of the things that becomes very difficult for people, and especially moms. I'm just going to say it. We want to fix stuff. We don't want you to be in pain. Come on, listen to mom. That's a big deal for us. We want everybody in the family to be okay. And sometimes the best life lesson is I can get out of this on my own. I can do this. I'm going to be okay. To be able to say that to yourself. But the people around you have to detach just a bit to know it's not about them. Where are the places that you find that the singles that you're in community with have the most problems?
Confidence, or a lot of it. Even the things too is trauma, childhood trauma, the way we were raised, the things that have happened to us. It's a lot of trauma that in turns into like confidence issues, not feeling worthy of love. A lot of people don't even feel worthy of a relationship or things like that, but confidence is probably the biggest struggle.
As you have grown to be able to see a way through, a way out, Montana Doran, I'm giving you that, okay?
I love it.
Montana Doran. You've really gotten your space. You've really been able to get in your space and make something happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Because there is something to be said for someone that'll be vulnerable enough to say, hey, this is what hurts me. And it doesn't have to hurt you.
Yes, ma'am.
Montana Doran. And I like to call her Montana Doran. You can reach Montana Doran at montanadoran.com. If you're in a space where you're sad, you're alone, and you feel like singlehood is the worst, reach out to someone called Montana Doran on TikTok. She'll be able to help because she is being transparent. This is how you do it, in love. God bless.